Most of what you were taught about working hard is a lie, a complete, absolute lie. You were told that if you do your job well, you will be rewarded with more money, more respect, or at least a little bit of peace. But in the real world, the reward for good work is simply more work. Let's talk about the machinery behind this, the KPI, the Key Performance Indicator. On paper, it's a brilliant tool for objective measurement. In practice, it's a game where the goal isn't actually to provide value, but to make the number go up. Here is the problem. When you measure a specific metric, people stop doing their jobs and start optimizing for the metric. If a call center is measured on call duration, the agents don't solve your problem. They just find the fastest way to hang up on you. This creates a disconnect, a massive gaping void between the reported success and the actual reality. The dashboard is green, the executives are happy, the shareholders are cheering. Meanwhile, the actual product is rotting from the inside because no one is incentivized to fix the foundational rot. Now, apply this to the high performer, the person who actually cares. They see the rot. They spend their extra energy fixing the things that aren't being measured because they have an actual shred of professional pride. But wait, that effort, it doesn't show up on the KPI. So, the high performer is doing two jobs, the one they're paid for, and the invisible job of keeping the whole thing from collapsing. The reward? They're seen as the only ones capable of handling the crisis, so they get assigned, you guessed it, more of the invisible work. Meanwhile, the person who has mastered the art of KPI manipulation is getting promoted. They've learned how to make their numbers look fantastic while contributing absolutely nothing of substance. They aren't better at their job, they're just better at the game. But here is where it gets really interesting. Because this system isn't just an accident, it's a feature. If the people in charge actually cared about value, they wouldn't use metrics that are so easy to fake. They use them because metrics are easy to report. Truth is hard. So we have to ask, is it even possible to align incentives with actual value in a corporate structure? Or is the very nature of the hierarchy designed to filter for the people who are best at pretending? Look, I'm not saying every manager is a villain. Most of them are just as trapped in the KPI loop as you are. They're being measured by their boss on the same fake numbers. It's a recursive loop of performative productivity. Now, some of you are thinking, but Clyde, that's just bad management. If you find a great boss, a leader who actually values substance over style, then the system works. And look, I get it. Those people exist. There are managers out there who will protect their best people and fight for their raises. But here is the cold, hard truth. Even the best manager is still operating within the larger corporate framework. They can protect you for a while, but they are still being measured by the same broken metrics. Eventually, the system demands a sacrifice, or it demands a result that only the gamers know how to fake. In fact, the good bosses often becomes the primary reason the high performer burns out. Why? Because the good boss knows you can handle it. They trust you. And because they trust you, they give you the hardest problems and the most critical failures to fix. They aren't exploiting you, they're just relying on you. And that is a different kind of trap. So we've established that the metrics are fake, the promotions are rigged, and even trust is a liability. You might be thinking this is just a rant about corporate life, but it is deeper than that. This is about the fundamental way we organize intelligence in the modern era. We have created a world where we value the map more than the territory. The KPI is the map. The actual value delivered to a human being is the territory. And for the last 30 years, we have been training entire generations of professionals to ignore the territory and just paint the map green. This leads to a phenomenon I call organizational dementia. The company forgets how to actually solve problems. It forgets how to innovate. It only remembers how to report. The muscle for actual competence atrophies, replaced by the muscle for corporate theater. And here is the climax, the actual core insight. The system doesn't just punish competence, it actively selects against it, because a truly competent person is dangerous. A competent person sees the gap between the map and the territory, and they can't help but point it out. Gamer, the optimizer, the performer, they are the perfect corporate citizens because they don't care about the territory. They are happy to live in the map. They don't point out the rot because the rot is where the opportunity for optimization lives. So, the systemic insight is this. The corporate incentive trap is not a failure of the system. It is the system working exactly as intended. It is a filter designed to elevate the most effective pretenders and exhaust the most effective producers. If you are the person who cares, the person who fixes the invisible things, the person who is actually competent, you are not a failure for burning out. You are a biological entity reacting normally to a toxic environment. You are the canary in the coal mine. The question then isn't, how do I get the system to recognize my value? Because the system is not designed to recognize value. It is designed to recognize signals. The question is, why are you still trying to send a signal to a machine that is programmed to ignore you? Stop asking for a seat at a table where the only requirement for entry is a willingness to lie about the food. Once you realize the game is rigged, you stop trying to win it. And that is where your actual freedom begins. Look, the point here isn't to just complain about how it sucks, because it does suck. But the point is that once you see the game, you can stop playing it on their terms. You stop tying your identity to the approval of a system that is fundamentally designed to mismeasure you. It is about finding a different metric for your own life. Instead of asking if the dashboard is green, ask yourself, am I actually getting better at what I do? Is the work I am doing meaningful to me? Because that is the only currency that doesn't inflate when the company reorganizes. So, let us go back to that opening lie, the one about working hard and being rewarded. The lie wasn't that hard work is useless, it is just that the reward isn't what they told you it was. The reward for being competent in a broken system is the knowledge that you are too good for it. Now, you can keep being the invisible engine that keeps the rot from spreading, or you can start investing that competence into yourself, because the only person who truly benefits from your brilliance is usually you. Everything else is just noise. And that is why I do not do performance reviews, because the only review that matters is the one you give yourself at the end of the day. Anyway, I am bored of this. Go do something that actually matters. Look, I know this feels like a bleak realization, but the truth is, realization is the only way out. You cannot fix a game you do not know you are playing. And once the curtain is pulled back, the game loses its power over you. Stop waiting for the system to recognize your value. It is not designed to. It is designed to utilize your value while paying you as little as possible for the maximum amount of output. That is not a glitch. That is the business model. So, start playing a different game. A game where your growth is the primary KPI, where your mental health is the only metric that actually determines if a day was successful, and where your competence is a tool for your own freedom, not a leash for someone else. Because at the end of the road, nobody remembers the green dashboards. They remember the people who actually built something, who actually solved something, and who actually lived. Everything else is just corporate static.